Video 1. Everything is being read from the screen. This is why this might be the most boring video of fiction that has ever been created. And at the same time, I believe it is the most important part of the process of the canon of future studies in universities for literature. And maybe it not be found anywhere else. So, I might as well start in a second now. I just have to find it on the screen. Excuse me for a moment, I'll get my glasses. I don't know where my glasses are. I just have to, I don't know where my glasses are, apologies. But, I have the file. So I magnified the words myself. This is known as Quark living through superspace. This is video 1. Quark living through superspace. Maximized literature in an age of minimalism. By Jack Milton. That's how I know myself. A Spacer Theorem production. Book 1. Concept Life. Conceptual Living. Part 1. A Surpassing of Self. Chapter 1. A Theory of Life and Self to the most fundamental questions of the universe. What is meant by life exactly? In audio and video files, some of which are destroyed, I read some of my best pieces of fiction and non-fiction, while I also added to the idea of absolute reality. In those files I investigate life to its full extent, attempting to add answers to questions to what an all-encompassing life is from beginning to end. In the files I propose my own mathematical equations to the idea of God's thinking brain and mind, as well as a whole host of other ideas. Although such proposals may be considered bizarre, one can say other ideas in this life throughout history and religious studies can be said to be also understood as lunacy, such as having a direct belief in Christ's ascension into heaven. In the case of the present day, many futurologists have been touting with the idea life may be understood as a form of world soap opera. Another way of looking at such an idea can be seen in the way we may well be inside a hologram, with a self-programming computer program operating every last aspect of life, as proposed by transhumanists such as Nick Bostrom. As much as Bostrom may be considered the voice of those who propose life is conducted through computer simulations, as far back as the late 1980s and into the middle of the 1990s, the creator of Star Trek, Gene Roddenberry, and the scriptwriters of Star Trek The Next Generation introduced the idea of a holodeck to the world, suggesting therefore such a theory could not be branded as entirely new in the 2020s. There are problems to such an idea. We are in a simulation. In human terms, such as the way in which people behave in relation to authority, there is every likelihood there always seems to be a pariah living close at hand. It may be suggested with the onset of Bostrom's proposals on the way in which a form of superintelligence would control all of life hundreds or thousands of years into the future through a form of self-programming computer controlling all life through the entire universe. There would be a counter-argument to challenge such a belief. The question has to be asked the extent to which a self-operating hacker could interfere with such a reality and may in truth do all in his or her power to upset the reality of our life, now and in the future. If such a factor became reality in terms of what constitutes as a simulation, and how the simulation could be controlled by a future god, but jeopardized by a hacker, what would humans be left with in terms of the way in which we always look to an intransient being to guide us? Before arriving to any question on the presence of a higher power such as God, Yahweh or Allah, or whatever way the name of God goes by in the whole of life's understanding of what God may be, there is a second reason why there are so many flaws to the answer how life is understood as a hologram or even as a self-programming computer program. There may be intelligent beings living in the universe who are possibly 5 billion years older than humans. We can note how there may well be beings in the universe 1 billion to 2 billion years younger than us, who may have evolved faster than humans did on their planets. In that sense, there is every likelihood, if the suggestion proposed by big thinkers like Bostrom is that life could become a type of utopian reality which could flourish through simulation, we may be exploring the idea how beings from other planets may in actual fact be those same superintelligent hackers in future years from now. Effectively, they may not be simply born from Earth, and sometimes these beings may come to planet Earth to breathe both visibly and invisibly. Such beings from other planets may be so far advanced, so godlike, at super warp speed they could negate every known and unknown idea of life on planet Earth. In other words, if most organized religions see into the future and prophesize Judgment Day, as a way of upsetting those religions, these extraterrestrials and other planets, if they are against us, and may consider our ideas to be so bland, no matter how imaginative we believe we are, humans may be presented with a type of Judgment Day before we realized. The same Judgment Day could possibly be introduced to humans via one long perceived or semi-imagined Judgment Day for the whole population of planet Earth. Through a realistic portrait of space, in the whole sense humans cannot fully comprehend the full nature of black holes just yet, many believing there may be wormholes within those black holes with links to other universes and parallel worlds. In other words, we may never know where such a hacker of life originates from entirely, on a whole scale of infinity, eternity, post-eternity, and even post-infinity. It's then we ask ourselves, when we attempt to understand life completely, when reality is known to us through our first understanding of knowing we are living life on planet Earth, and perhaps even when we are resting in the womb, the question which is posed goes along the lines, what is life exactly if some people on planet Earth hardly experience and live 1 hour, while others in the minority manage to live until they are 110 years of age? Many years ago I would have taken a break from such heavy-duty writing, I went along the lines of writing a poem. After writing a poem, I would usually say out loud, life is quite poetic. I don't believe there's anything better in life for a poet like me to do but drink a superb cappuccino. Of course, there's a lot more to life we can possibly know. But if humans and AI could develop an omnipresent camera telescope which can take on board all known sights, sounds, actions, smells and tastes of every known being in the universe and could observe all of life all in one sitting, we would need about eternity to the power of eternity times infinity to the power of eternity to multiplied by eternity to the power of eternity multiply infinity to the power of infinity amount of screens to be capable of observing such a life, though there may always be the possibility of developing a computer or a series of computers that can produce data for future humans and AI to study, for there is so much to study. As for time machines, if we have fallen into a future time machine, the fact people like me stare at people in order to observe people and analyse people, the question I pose, as we think about life as well as the people we know and have known in life on a given day, or even in a given moment, through this time machine, are we actually depending on the moment of living, going far in age or backwards in age, depending on the type of thought we have? The thought either being a childish-like thought, a thought we may have had as a teenager, or a thought as an adult, our bodies changing as a result of such thinking. To present such aspects of life to the world, one would be inclined to wonder, apart from being a poet and a philosopher and a life theorist, who is this person known as Jack Milton exactly? Who is the self, writing to everyone living life through the years 2024 to 2040 and possibly beyond? Art. Refer to me as art. I may well be the future. Essentially, I have surpassed my own self in terms of the way I've designed myself as an artist. But what style of self and what style of artist? As for self, I am known to be loving, caring, deep, intense, quite truthful, somewhat happy, a little bit serious, intelligent but not fully intelligent, as to the brim of intelligence, being, as you will, intellectual, while also being extremely artistic in the raw sense of being artistic. I am lonely in terms of the way I would love to be in a loving relationship with a woman aged between 25 and 55 years of age. I can also be incredibly comical from time to time, as well as having a lot of emotions and feelings, while also being full of thoughts about everything, about life, being thoughtful about my own being, as well as others, with many people referring to me as being empathetic towards others. I could describe the time machine in layman's terms as a form of camera-like space equipment which looks at Earth through every known conceivable and inconceivable sight and sound vantage point. This camera would look deeply at Earth's movement through the galaxy and would be capable of viewing on a special screen every last detail of Earth through the whole view of capturing Earth manoeuvring through Einstein's series of nows theory. It would really be a feat of absolute engineering genius to work such a proposal for the benefit of the holy books, as well as writers such as William Shakespeare and H.G. Wells, for example, marrying the idea with variant levels of astrophysics mathematics. But to be capable of a human being of physically entering into Earth 80 years ago, or even 2,000 years ago, or 9,000 years ago, and expect to be brought back to the present, would probably be asking too much despite the possibilities it could work. Even if this was not the case, I am suggesting that instead of identifying a world soap opera through a hologram, we may instead have all fallen into a type of strange time machine, whereby life tends to be lived through the Victorian age for some, modernism for others, Dadaism for many of you, as well as post-expressionism and post-science fiction for others, otherwise understood as the 1890s, 1920s, 2020s, 2050s and 2090s, the themes of which would be styled in the following order: traditionalism, experimentation, horror but fascinating art and literature, a searching for more than science and art, ethnographic portraits of life with other beings in other worlds, along with the most conscious level of evolution on planet Earth. Note: I would write a form of technical writing which went along the lines: I know about bilocation, for I live in the past, the present, the future, from time to time, all at the same time, magically immersed into the present being more or less what one would refer to as a lie, and I am not entirely a liar. Yet there is one thing in all absolutist forms of understanding my own being, which I fully know in terms of spirituality, and that is the complete truth of self. To know the full truth of self is to know Jesus, despite all my failings, despite all my flaws, despite all my disgraces. And yet I do not fully understand such a life of truth, not in the sense of living a life after meeting Jesus, Peter, all my grandparents, Helen Keller, Einstein, Shankly, and Mick Lally, amongst many others. And all the beliefs I had, I was inside the meditative mind of Buddha, actually experiencing Buddha meditating with the most wondrous feelings under a tree, and all I know of Buddha's wisdom. I say I do not understand such complete truth fully, for everything that was learned in such a moment was the known. This is me, this is who I am, I know myself as this being. I note as I write this work, the current day being the 20th of the 9th, 2023, I feel a strangeness about me in the sense, as I write this work, I feel a strange amount of otherworldly ointment being smeared on my face. I then pose the question and try to answer the following questions, since you have discovered my videos. What is meant by pre-nothing, pre-energy, pre-matter, pre-thought? I suggest there is a pause between the life of life, a type of stillness, which may be considered as a link to life behind life. It is astrophysics played out at giant levels of giant size somethings, understood as forms of life studying the unknown. Such studying would be akin to delving into the borders of superspace, the places which have never been identified, and so much to study, including pre-thought, all based on knowledge, bits of ignorance, simplicity, language, music, and madness. End of chapter 1, video 1 of the title is Quark Living Through Superspace, Maximized Literature and Native Minimalism by Jack Milton, a Spacer Theron production.